This is the Joseph Stevenson Podcast, the podcast teaching digital marketing concepts that helps your business grow. And now your host, Joseph Stevenson.
Welcome to episode 18 of the Joseph Stevenson Podcast. It is Monday, July 24th, and I am excited, as always. I think I open with that almost all the time, so maybe I should change that up. But I'm excited because I've got some cool updates to go over, a little bit of news, and then some helpful advice, I hope. So the news is I will be speaking at a couple of different conventions in the next couple months. There is WordCamp up in Salt Lake City that's going to be September. And then there is the Writers Conference up around Kanab, Utah that will be in October. So if you're interested in attending, let me know and I'll see if I can get you hooked up. And I'll be speaking on 3 different things. So one of them will be how to get your website to be number 1 on Google PageSpeed Insights. And number 1 means 100. So 100 is a perfect score. So I'm going to go through a full tutorial on how to do that. And I have actually already posted those slides on the website. So if you go to the website, click on the blog, you can see those slides right there. And so if you have ever wanted to get your website number 1 or a perfect score, go check that out. The other 2 that I will be speaking on, which will be at the Writers Conference, will be SEO for authors. So how to get your book ranked in Amazon, but also just ranked generally in Google. And then the other one will be on Facebook marketing as it specifically applies to books and selling books. So if you're an author and you're into that, check those out. If you're not, but you are thinking about it at some point, check them out. I hope they'll be helpful. So those are the things that are coming up that I'm excited about. The news is my second book was just released last week, the Little Book on Digital Marketing series. This one is book 2, and it's called SEO Part 1, On-Page Optimization. So this is the book where I go in depth on how to make your content perfectly optimized so that you have the ability to rank in Google. So there's 2 major parts of SEO. There is on-page optimization and off-page optimization. So my first book, which talks about keyword research, that goes into identifying keywords that you should target on your website and how to find them, figure out their volume, figure out their difficulty, and how to rank for those keywords. The second book is now going into optimizing your website so that you can actually rank for them. So, for instance, first book might say, okay, the best keyword you could target if you're a dog training website would be the best dog trainer ever. So once you figure out that's your keyword, and the first book will teach you how to figure out what keyword to target, now this second book is going to go into how to adjust all of the content and code on your website to rank for that keyword. And you'll want to do that before you do any off-page work, because oftentimes clients will come to me and their website won't be optimized at all. So we'll do that, and then as soon as they're optimized, they might rank on the first page without doing any off-site work at all. And off-site SEO is really your most risky SEO, because that's where Google can penalize you for having unnatural links, unnatural off-site SEO. You can get penalized for on-page, but it's a little bit less. It's a little less risky because most people don't get penalized for that if they do it in a clean way. So the new book is out. Go check it out on Amazon. I'm really excited about it. As with the first book, if you would like a free copy, all I ask is that you leave me a review in return for the free copy. So shoot me an email, littlebook@josephstevenson.com. I will be happy to mail you a free copy in return as long as you leave me a review. Hopefully a good review, but a review nonetheless. So let me know if you need it. The last point that I wanted to touch on is back to that Google PageSpeed Insights. So I was talking about how you can get a perfect 100 score on your site. And a lot of people have told me, well, that's not possible. You can't do that. It is possible. It is not easy, but it's possible. So the best way, and I'll be going into this during my convention presentation, but it's also in the slides. But the best way to do it is to go through and reverse engineer your code. So the main issues that websites have when they are not showing up or not showing up, not getting that 100 score, getting a poor score, is usually that the JavaScript and CSS are not minified, that they're loading too fast, that your images are not compressed, and that your server speed is too slow. So those are your main issues. Those are usually your biggest offenders. So when I say reverse engineer, your CSS and your JavaScript load in your header file in WordPress, if that's what you're using, or just whatever you're using generally in the header of the site. Google's issue is that usually you're loading things before the content is loading. So when I say reverse engineer, go into your header file, find your CSS, find your JavaScript, and just comment them out. So remove them, don't delete them, but comment them so that they're not loading. It's going to make your site look ugly, but we're doing this just for purposes of figuring out what's causing the problem. So do that, then go on the page that you're optimizing, find the images, and either upload smaller images or remove them altogether. Again, we're just trying to figure out which things are causing problems. Generally, the images, you might have a 700 pixel width area to put the image in, and the image might be 1,000 pixels, so that's going to throw an error. So remove the image or figure out the pixel width and save your image to be that same width. Now, if you save the image to be that width, you're going to want to make sure it's compressed. So go and Google online image compressor. I use compressor.io, and it'll compress your image file size down. So do that for the images. And then last of all, if you do not have caching on your host, install a caching plugin like WP Super Cache, or you can just go in and look for caching plugin and install that. That's going to drastically speed up your site because it's going to save everything as static. So do that, then rerun your Google PageSpeed Insight test, and more than likely you will probably get 100 on it. Now, your site's going to look ugly because you've commented out your JavaScript and CSS, but then you know that if you just fix your JavaScript and CSS, that you can get a perfect 100 score. So the best way to do that then is to work backwards and uncomment your CSS and then follow the instructions. You may need a developer to help you out on it, but generally what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to compress your files. You're going to need to load them in the proper areas. So if your theme is not loading it in the proper area, you may need to move that style sheet somewhere else and your JavaScript file somewhere else. But once you do that, Google then is going to reward you with a higher page speed score, and getting that higher score is going to signal that your page speed is good, which is very, very good for SEO. So I bring this up, and I'm going into this week mainly because of clients that have asked, hey, how do we get this perfect 100 score? But also as just a tip of advice for your business in general, because I have found out that with my business, whenever I'm having issues or problems and it's difficult to determine what the root of that problem is, it's easier for me to reverse engineer and remove almost everything and then add things back in to figure out what is causing the problem. So if you have a sales team, let's say it's an HR issue, and you have a sales team of 10 sales guys, and you don't know what the issue is, but out of all the leads that are coming in, you're closing hardly any. I'm not saying fire all 10 sales guys, but what I am saying is analyze all 10 of them as if you had fired them, adding them back on to sales calls, and very quickly you will be able to figure out who is doing the sales and who is not, and what the bottleneck is, what the issue is. Most of the time we don't know what the issues are because we try to look at things as a whole and punish departments or punish entire categories of our business, when the reality is it's probably 20%. If you've heard of Pareto's law, 20% of action usually brings about 80% of consequence. So 80% of negative things that are happening are coming probably from 20% of the input. And the same thing works on the positive side. So you probably have 80% of your sales coming from 20% of your salespeople. So use reverse engineering not only with your code, but with your business structure. And generally, you can make yourself more efficient, bring your costs down, increase productivity. And generally, you're going to keep your employees and your customers happier because you're going to be able to put more resources into those things that are producing the best results versus only 20% of your resources into what's producing the best results. So that is my tip of the week. Again, I hope you will check out my new book. If you go to Amazon and search for Joseph Stevenson or search for the little book on digital marketing, it will come up. Grab a copy, and if you don't want to get it on there, if you don't want to pay for it, again, I'm putting this content out because I want to help business owners succeed. So if you cannot afford it, let me know. I am more than happy to mail you a free copy. All I would ask is that you leave a review for me in return, but I will pay for the printing and the shipping. So when I say free, completely free. I will send it to you, no questions asked. So let me know if you want a copy. I'll be happy to send it over to you. And again, thanks for listening and have a great week.